Hello, good evening, and welcome, morning or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome back to the Overwatch Watchers Brawl. We are here with 3.007, and I am joined by the effervescent, as always, Sir Waltham.
Thank you very much, Threepwood. Good to be here.
Aimless eSports versus Aegis.
Yes, these are, well, at least the team I have, somewhat of a familiarity with. I have seen Aegis a little bit before. They're standing at about a 2.7K rating, which, from what I hear, is right next to Aimless Esport, who also has a 2.7 rating. So another very well-matched game.
We should see a nice balanced game of Overwatch tonight. I'm loving the player icon synergy. Aimless Esports. Let's take a look at them. What do we have on them? Aimless Esports is said to be a team that is very recent. They came from, to quote themselves, they came from all sorts of backgrounds, and this is their first ever tournament.
Well, we are certainly very excited to have them here. On their opposing side, Aegis, a team with a little bit more experience. They've been around since summer 2018. And, they've had a whole lot of roster changes and all that kind of stuff, but they seem to think it's really helped make them stronger.
I have to agree. They have since their tumultuous days acquired a new captain, some assistant captains, and a coach, and they've been doing really great work. And I'm looking forward to their matchup today, which is going to start on Hanamura with Aimless Esports starting out on the defense and Aegis mounting the first attack.
Definitely ready to get diving right into here. Threepwood, are there any comps you're thinking we're just going to see right out the gate kind of at standard?
Given the most recent prevalence of the Orisa Diva, I think we can anticipate that on defense for point A for sure.
Certainly. I mean, on the defense, it's nothing like having to push through that solid Orisa shield, which gets that 700 or 800 damage block every, 6-8 seconds that shield comes off of cooldown. So
Just
certainly
about,
a tough obstacle.
Yep. And then on offense, however, Hanamura, also for on defense, by the way, we could also see that infuriating Mei. Not sure whether the teams will be willing to pull out that kind of anger, but we'll see. For the offense, however, it's difficult to say. Hanamura tends to favor itself more of a Goatseek style of play, but recently we've been seeing some interesting comps come out, and not the usual successes that you've been seeing from Goats as of late.
I'm going to go ahead and theory craft a little bit here. If we do see the Orisa, which it doesn't look like we are, we would definitely want to see that attacking team have a Lucio to get through that placed barrier as quickly as possible and really kind of pressurize the defending team.
And it's very fortunate that they do have a Lucio, it seems, on the offense because, as anticipated partially, Aimless Esports is going to be bringing out the Mei. Despite the Shimada main battle tag option going for it there, they're going to be pulling out the classic sciencing the hell out of that choke point.
Similarly, we will be seeing the by now very familiar Ryan Zarya Brig on defense here, just that ground pound comp.
On offense, however, we're going to be looking at a nice little Ashe Hanzo, possibly taking the role of Widowmaker in term for the hit scan, a long-range DPS that we're going to see, and they are going to be marching right up the point, getting some pokes. The Hanzo and the Ashe immediately taking the high ground to the left there, tossing some damage in. It's poke time for now. I think they see the Mei, and they're anticipating that inevitability of, should they charge in, it's going to get the wall.
It's very true, and once you get into the ult fight, the Ashe does make a little bit more sense as a Widow in this point, where you're able to just send the Bob through and cause a lot of disruption and confusion on the defending team.
Teams are showing a little hesitation to pop through the point, and that's going to cost both Ryans their shields at some point in time. Elevator Man seems to be jockeying for position, and I'm going to go with the Ryan game right now is being definitely taken by Reset All because of the sheer inability of the Aegis to push through. Oh, and there we go. There it is. The Mei wall comes down despite the speed boost, but Vex is going to pay the price. This push is pretty much done and over.
It is very true. The late nano boost coming out, perhaps a little bit of a misplay there.
Everyone loves a good boostio, but not if that's a trigger-happy Q that comes out. And after that initial Hanzo kill, Aimless Esports makes quite the show of annihilating the entirety of the Aegis offense.
It's very true, and Aimless is also going to have a little bit of a bank of ults on their side. We're going to see both tank ults, as well as some more CC from the Mei and Biscuit with that Coalescence, just providing mass healing and damage.
With no Diva on either side, both teams are going to be able to fling out all of the projectile ults at will. Have a feeling Vex is going to be holding on to those dragons for the Graviton. And here comes the Mei Ice Blizzard, freezing the remainder of the team on the point. Pilot goes down first. Reinhardt is soon to follow. And that's another push shut down pretty easily by Aimless eSports.
That may have just been a little bit of an eco push by Aegis here. As we see, they are slowly starting to build up their ult counter as well. As I say that though, Vex just throwing out the dragons.
Has to be a switch. No, he's not. He's staying. That may have been a bit of a click again. We're going to see some shaky Hanamura play. We really hate to see that from the players. But now Bob comes out, and that's going to be some shots directly onto the Aimless eSports team. Bane Wall does shut them off, and now Coalescence is going to come out as a result. Both Reinhardts once again jockeying for position, and that's one right shield down. Big Shatter comes out to counter the grab, and now Resetall is going to go down. Now it's Aimless eSports' chance to scramble as Aegis comes in full swing with no main tank. That's going to be big kills coming in for either side, but Lucian's the first one to fall. And the grab comes out, it's countered by the barriers. Still no kills from either side, but it's a big walk back from the Aimless eSports spot.
Absolutely, and Elevator Man doing their best to just buy massive space with that nano boost. However, it doesn't look like any kills are going to come off of that, but Vex going to take the advantage and, you know, snipe that thing.
Aimless eSports absolutely has the advantage here. You have to find that W key, you have to head towards that bell, and start swinging that hammer like crazy, but now Dragons are coming directly onto the point. Vex splits the team in half, and there it is. Aizen 155 is gonna go down. Grav catches the healers, and a couple of disaster, and another Bob comes out onto the field. He's gonna land right on the point. Shatter's also gonna come out. That's gonna be a lot of damage from Bob, and a lot of kills coming in now for Aegis.
And the key there was the dragons that were able to separate, that would be Resetall on the Reinhardt from the rest of the team. So the DPS, while Elevator Man and Resetall were just kind of 1v1ing, they were able to just pretty much manhandle the 3 or 4 other members on point.
It was a really, really good solid push at the end there. They managed to do it with some time left on the clock. Hanamura being Hanamura in that 2CP style, we're going to have about a little over 4 minutes left for them to take this next map with no ults to speak of to start.
It is going to be a rather dry ult game on this first fight. However, Resetall going to be the only one with an ult online, maybe until Vex can get those dragons.
And on the other hand, however, Aimless eSports has plenty to work with, and they're not even going to have to use anything, as Aegis has to get... Aegis, rather, is getting pushed away from their possibly ult gaming attempts.
It's very true. They did, however, get Vex to have that dragon, and it looks like with, you know, proper damage capabilities, Pilot will be able to set up for that Dragon Ball combo that you and I have seen so many times this tournament already.
Yep, it's almost in Aegis' best interest, and they are going to do it. They're going to head right for the middle. They want Aimless eSports to clump up and head straight down. Pilot has one more good bomb. A Shatter goes in. It doesn't catch anyone. Reinhardt's shield kept it up. Pilot is 3% away from the Dragon Ball combo. There it is. It's going to come out as soon as they get a nice big clump, but Smoothie gets forced down by the Shamana main on the Mei. They are going to die for their sins, as we are so fond of saying, and now Bob comes in onto the point. Barry's just going to come out as real. That's a lot of ults that they managed to force out there. Grav Dragon has to be close.
It's very true. A smart play, wait for the Lucio sound barrier to come out if it was intentional. And you'd pretty much expect it to come out there.
Wow. What a apocalypse that was just dropped by Aegis. They're going to pick up 2 points easily. There's no way they can get back on. That's Hanamura point B going to Aegis, completing the map.
And really one of the benefits they were showing in that second push for the second cap was that they did have a lot of restraint on those ults. It definitely seemed like they weren't rushing to just initiate a fight and see what the ult did. They were waiting to position the ult, plan how they were going to use them, and then use them to their optimal efficiency.
Absolutely, and I love to see kind of that recovery from that initial kind of shaky push on point A turn into a really excellent, well-coordinated push onto point B. Sounds like they may not have gotten as many warm-up games in before this match as they wanted to, but they are certainly operating at good efficiency at this point.
It certainly seems so, but however, now we are going to be seeing Aimless on the attack now. Well, I'm curious to see what they're going to roll.
Yeah, Aimless eSports, they stuck with almost a mirror comp, but on defense they did those Hanamura classics. You saw the Mei, you saw maybe a Lucio, you saw some other stuff, and here we go. They're going to be coming out, at least with their initial picks, with some really interesting toys. And for Aegis, however, on the defense, we're almost seeing a... How do you say it? A mirror defense?
I would say so.
We have
Without
the
the
Mei.
Lucio.
Yeah, without the Lucio. Instead, they're going to be bringing out a Zenyatta. While they are a very diveable target, that's going to be a substantial quantity of damage boost coming out from that Discord.
And in this map, in this situation, and this meta, usually you don't have to worry about the Zenyatta getting dove too much in Hanamura, because there's just, until they get through the choke, there's not really a good angle to take to dive him. And if you're through the choke, then a brawl comp would probably work just as well.
Yeah, it's definitely rough times. And from Aimless Esports, we are seeing almost the comp that they came out with. Edgelord on the Reaper, looking for some tank-busting action pre-Reaper super patch coming out. And they are just going to be looking to shatter probably Elevator Man's shield really early. And the wall comes in! It traps the Reinhardt and the Brigitte! They get anti-nade, and both of them are going to fall.
That certainly looked well practiced. If the Mei wall was just a little bit crooked, other than that, it was some superb play.
Yeah, that was really decent. Reflect showing a very good proficiency with using that single cooldown to split the entire team and win a fight.
As well, perhaps could be a little bit tighter. Gale on that Lucio could really help encourage the team to push the choke at once, and it looks like they're going to do a little bit better job this time around.
And the Mei wall, despite going up, they're not going to get as many kills out of it this time. Reset All does pick up the Mei, but Aegis is showing themselves to be the victors in this particular little squabble. It's going to be a 5v4 right now. That's going to be a 5v3. That's not good for Aimless Esports. Despite their massive spawn advantage, it looks like they're going to have to pull out.
And that got kind of tetchy for Aegis. If the fight had dragged on too long, the respawns would have been in for Aimless in short order.
Right, and now, however, we can see Aegis is definitely doing all the damage on the field. They are building up to their ults much faster than Aimless Esports, who will have a Coalescence and a Shatter coming online very shortly, but that's going to be going up against probably a preemptive Shatter from Elevator Man, should that shield go down even for an instant.
Ooh, and the value Mei wall coming out, preventing that Coalescence from getting too much healing or damage on either side.
Massive shatter from Reset All, waiting for that opportune moment. Dragons are going to come out, though, as they're going to split the team up a little bit, but they were already so far in and picking up so many kills. That's going to be Aimless Esports taking point A with much better time on the clock.
And it really does show how much you can leverage a Reaper when you're playing against a very tight, claustrophobic kind of comp, and you're able to just barrel stuff the enemy team to oblivion, essentially.
Yeah, it's a rough situation to be in, especially when you may not necessarily be remembering, wow, Reaper does a lot of damage, and even before this new patch hits, he still heals himself for a fair bit, and when you're going up against a Reinhardt and a Zarya, that's a lot of HP coming in.
And if Aegis is going to continue to defend against this Reaper comp, which it looks like they'll have to, they'll definitely want to take that Reaper out before he can get close and tucked in.
So it looks like we saw a little bit of a misplaced Mei wall there. Two grabs going in! It's barriers from both sides! A Reaper's gonna toss his ult, but the Shatter comes in! Amazing! So much damage now for Aegis. Unbelievable! A Vex swap onto a McCree is gonna be exactly what the doctor ordered, as he then goes after the Reaper and chases them away.
Now, I didn't catch whether Lucian had it before the grab or not, but the fact that Lucian still has the Transcendence after both the grabs came out and the Death Blossom, a lot of self-control.
Yeah, knowing that Elevator Man's shield, the grabs being in the position that they were, withholding on that trans is probably going to turn out to be one of the best things that ever happened. Rally, however, now is going to come out for Aimless Esports. They're going to charge right into the point. They're going to get split a little. So Biscuit is not able on the motor to bring out any healing to a team that is about to get blizzarded. But here comes their Coalescence. The team is split. A massive shatter comes out from Reset All. That's a big trans now coming out from Lucian, though, but the damage has been done. Vex and Reflect have both been eliminated from the point. And massive, again, another crazy shatter just before he was about to get charged into oblivion. It might not be enough, though.
And it looks like, as you say that, the kills are going to get turned around. Elevator Man helping to really clean up. And man, that, as we said it before, Lucian on that Zenyatta, really saving that ult was essential.
Holy moly, I can't believe Aegis didn't give up a single pick. What an incredibly tenacious defense.
It certainly was, and as we've said, one of the first picks to go down on Aimless was that Reaper, and you know, when you have a team that's embedded on the point and you have to push into them, it makes Reaper look so much more intimidating, but it seemed like Aegis handled it pretty well.
And yes, and I think Aimless Esports is in agreement as Edgelord has switched over to a Widowmaker, with Shimada main also now dropping onto a Shimada in the form of Hanzo. Looks like they'll probably be building up to the Dragon Ball, and Edgelord picks off Reflects May with a single headshot. The game is afoot, and here comes the Nano Boost onto Elevator Man, probably looking to build up some nasty sick charge, and there it is, he picks off Resettle. Now they're going to toss a High Noon as well into the fight, with Shimada Man also taking Vex's McCree out as a result.
And although that was a 2-4-2 trade throughout this fight, it's pretty alright if you're the defense. You do have the defensive spawn that's really giving you some help there.
Right, and at this point, Aimless Esports just needs to build up some ultimates. Pilot dropping that Diva Bomb there just to get back in their mech, anticipating a nasty push coming in. With 3 minutes left on the clock, Aimless Esports can no longer get the point faster with a higher time than Aegis. So it's now up to Aegis to stall and possibly defend as long as they can.
Very true. And one thing I would like to point out is the number of ults that, the number of nano boosts that have gone on to Elevator Man, just been on the receiving end of so much healing and damage boosting lately.
And look at Elevator Man's charges. The man is on fire. That's so many consecutive charges hit now, sucking Resettle into their charge like Reinhardt is pushing a black hole in front of them, which is how it feels sometimes if you're on the receiving end.
However, one thing that Aegis will have to watch out for is going to once again be that famous Dragon Ball combo, especially with so many ults to help set it up. You have the hammer down, you have the beat to help get really aggressive into point, you have the Valk to damage boost if it doesn't quite go like it should. A lot of potential here for a concerting take by Aimless.
Pilot is going to have to do their very bitty best to use that defense matrix at the opportune moment to stop possibly at least the Grav, maybe even the DM, but looking at Shimada main's positioning, it's probably not going to be the case. Right now, it's poke central, as both teams, or rather Aimless Esports, seems to be trying to figure out how they want to make this offensive.
It looks like Reflect will be switching to that Genji to handle the Widow a little bit better. Really doing a strong effort to keep them dislodged.
Massive shatter right when the shield was broken. Here come the dragons. No grabs needed, as the Shimada main proves their battle tag isn't just for cosmetics, and they go head to the point with no resistance.
It's very true. The only one getting out of there, I believe, is Elevator Man. However, the dragon's going to be coming out. Ooh, with the defensive grab.
Incredible grab. Unbelievable. Round 2 done. Aimless Esports finishes the map. I just love that grab more than anything else.
Yeah, as we talk about good ult saving and conservation, you know, it came to Lucian using the Zenyatta ult later in one fight, and then it also came to, I believe it was Resettle, who on that Zarya, who didn't need to use it with the Dragon Ball combo. They just let the Hanzo fire the dragon arrows freely, I believe, on the back end of a hammer down. And so they were able to use it to lock down the point even more.
It was great stuff. You saw that they waited to save. They saved it. A lot of times you see a shatter go right into a Reinhardt shield. They're excited. They just toss it out, assuming that something's going to happen. Of course, it doesn't, and the shatter is wasted. However, they held their cue long enough for that, you know, very trademark shatter sound of, you know, my shield is broken on the other side. Bam! There you go. That's your moment. Shatter goes out. Dragon follows, point done.
Absolutely, and I don't want to get too excited here, but some pharmacy might be in effect.
It's always difficult to say, you know, those offensive spawns, they can change the heroes whenever they want, tricking us casters into thinking that, you know, oh, of course we're going to see a Symmetra Tor Bastion push. But it looks like this might actually be the push that we're going to see, as everyone is charging at a spawn in this. We're going to see a pharmacy. Edgelord getting hit almost immediately by that fire strike. Great chance to build up. No, not a fire strike. Must have been a dragon arrow, as Vex is the only one showing some good percentage.
And really the advantage of running this pharmacy combo right here is that the Mei becomes a little more irrelevant. If you don't have to worry about 2 characters getting over that Mei wall, then it allows your team to push in a little bit more freely.
It's a perfect thing to see, and there they are. Shimada main setting up on the left side, raining rockets down on the choke, making it very difficult for Aegis to establish any kind of defense. The hesitant offense we saw from before is gone. Vex does pick up the Shimada main, but here Aimless Esports is heading straight to the point with nary so much as a how do you do, and with 35 seconds left and no main tank for Aegis, this could be a successful push on point A.
Absolutely, and the first kill coming out from Gale on that Ana. a little bit humorous there to see support getting so many frags. But it looks like this actually is going to be a turnaround on point for the attacking team.
Fantastic. Where was this aggression in the first push? I want to know, but here it is, and now they have a little bit of a 30-second boost, and they're going to be charging for point B as quickly as possible, with some ults in their pocket going up against Vex's Dragons.
Yeah, realistically here, they're only going to have one push, so they want to set it up. They want to make sure they're in the best position. Biscuit going to be helping that with a Valk.
So they are going to be opening, give that Valkyrie, and we see that's going to be a lot of tasty percentage. Reflect up there on the Ashe, trying to rain some damage down on the point. No ticks yet. High Nude has been put out by Edgelord. Dragon's coming out. He's going to be able to roll away from it, and Reflect is going to pick up the Shimada main, but Vex is going to fall down too. That's 2 DPSs from both sides. Big Shatter comes out. It's going to catch Pilot, but no one else as the shield came up in time. And now here comes the Nano. More Nano Reinhardts go out right into a shield. They're not going to be able to get anything off of that, but the heals are coming in pretty hard.
Yeah, it was for a moment like Rock'em Sock'em Robots between those two Reinhardts. Reflect getting some kills, however, does not seem to be cycling fast enough to overcome the sheer numbers that the attacking team has on point here.
And Biscuit is going to pull off a resurrection onto that Edgelord. That's going to come into handy immediately as Lucian is on the point, and now Stall Comp is coming out from Aegis as the Hammond is on the field. Probably see May, Doomfist, and Tracer as an addition. And there's the Doomfist coming in, doing as much work as they can, but Edgelord says nay.
I think for the time being, we will see Reflect stay on that Ashe. If the fight goes long enough, we'll see the Bob come out for even more stall.
Wow. At overtime, spawn is a bit of a difficulty. It looks like Smoothie almost had a chance to get on their stall a bit more, but completing Hanamura in overtime on the second push is huge.
It is very true. It definitely puts the onus on Aegis to really perform and get onto the point, and basically they have to cap 2 or they lose this round.
Right, and with 2 minutes and 45 seconds, if they can show some of the similar aggression that we just saw from Aimless eSports, it's definitely possible.
Well, certainly. The key, however, here is remembering where they struggled. In Aegis, it definitely seems like the first time around, it was second point. I mean, I'm sorry, for Aimless, it seemed like it was second point, but for Aegis,
right,
they definitely took a lot longer getting on the first point, I believe going into overtime.
They had, I think they had maybe 30 seconds left, but yeah, they pushed it real close to the wire. So again, that's got to be some newfound aggression from Aegis. They're going to have to come charging in there, and it looks like they're ready to do just that with a Zenyatta-enabled GOATS composition.
Ooh, you know, we're getting back into it. It was nice while it lasted. Shimada Main, however, might be anticipating this, able to get some massive damage on that Junkrat. However, Reflect, if they're playing into a Junkrat, going to get some charge very quickly.
Right. Zarya with a 80% charge coming into a comp like that with a very fragile set of supports coming out, especially your only major damage is the Junkrat. That's going to be rough times. And it looks like Reset Off is setting up very early. They're going to get a peek of that composition. Now Aimless eSports knows GOATS is coming.
True, and we will see the set up here as a Fire Strike coming out, and immediately the push through the choke. There is no May to stop that, just the Junkrat trap that will only catch one of them.
Junkrat now building some incredible ult percentage, catching the entire team. They're at 75% to a tire. That's huge. Reinhardt's swinging away, and it's going to be Elevator Man that goes down first. Aimless eSports showing that they are more than equipped to handle this GO comp, but that's going to be a Reinhardt shatter on the other side. You might as well have nothing, and Smoothie's going to pick up the other team. Here comes that tire, going to pick up Lucian. Wow, what an incredible defense.
Very true, and it really kind of shows the, as I say, wow, the Brig ultimate coming out, and it looks like this might actually turn around for Aegis a little bit as Reflect just lasering people in half.
That's amazing. The ults built up by Aegis were so incredible. Junkrat might have gotten his ult faster than anyone on the field, but it's Aegis with the tenacity to stay on the point and take it when they need it. They literally have every member, and there's no way Aimless can get back in time.
I was going to say that it seemed a little weird that they were leaving kind of the Junkrat, who was separated from their team. They were off to the side, just kind of free to do that damage, but they were just focusing the tanks and getting the big, beefier ult charge in favor of it.
Yeah, that was really solid play from Aegis and their target focus and target selection. Now, of course, we are going to see them go right to point. They have a Shatter and a Grav. Grav immediately available, coming online. There actually looks like they're going to take a little time to get that Lucio to boost that Smoothie onto the point.
To right, however, they are going to be going up against a handful of ults on the other side. The Hammer, the Grav, the Sound Barrier, and Trance to be happening soon. Shimada Main going to be showing an absolute reign of terror, if you'll pardon the pun.
No, I refuse to pardon the pun. Instead, I'm gonna put it right on the refrigerator. And I also want to say Aimless Esports is disciplined there. Again, the tendency to toss out a lot of ults to make sure that fight is a victory is high. Yet they only committed the one. Now they have a rally building up incredible armor, and they have both support ults in the bank to counter this. However, it is going to be bad times as Aegis is coming in with barriers, Grav, Bomb, and Shatter. Those are potentially fight-winning ults. We could be looking at an even further round of Hanamura as they engage in this big Grav now coming in. Trance is going to come out. That doesn't stop a lot of damage, and Aizen 155 is going to fall.
Very true, and we saw the Zenyatta ult come out from Biscuit. However, that anti-nade landed by Smoothie is going to land on the Brig. Doesn't look like it will be able to stop the barrage from the Shimada main, however.
Yeah, Shimada main did an incredible job stopping that push before it really started. I disagree with committing the Diva Bomb to that ult. You had one more push in the bank before you went into this, and now instead, you're going to be staggered to high heaven.
That is true. It looks like they may not even get to have Pilot on the point before overtime ticks. If any of them can get in right now, it's really going to be key on Lucian to ferry the team in. If possible, it's going to be a stretch.
Yeah, they actually have to rush right now. There's got to be a speed boost coming out, or they're going to make it just in time for overtime. With a 4v6 on the team, they're going to get picked apart immediately as Vex falls to the Storm Arrows. Reset All takes out their Reinhardt counterpart, and it's going to be pure stagger now on the point as the Grav once again comes out, keeping members of Aegis from the point. This is going to go to Aimless Esports, taking Hanamura and round 1.
And that was just some poor timing, or some unfortunate timing, we'll say, on Lucian's part. With that Lucio, because as soon as they started dropping the beat, I believe the McCree and the Reinhardt both fell in proper order, and it was basically a solo barrier at that rate.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell when you want to pop that very finicky defensive ult. And again, I also want to mention, charging into a Grav tends to be not almost the best idea, but when you have that kind of situation, that's not a terrible idea. Swinging into it is going to give that Zarya a lot of charge, and instead you picked out a Brigida, took them out, and then, as we saw, that was just a purest of team kills.
I would say charging into a Grav can be a good call if you happen to get the Rhine in the Grav, because if the Rhine's there with just this big old shield, you're basically having to burn through the shield anyway. But if you pin him, then the shield goes away and you can get at the soft underbelly that is the other members of the team.
Oh, yeah. All right, and now since Aegis was the unfortunate suffering and the loss on the first map, they are going to pick the next map.
Very true, and that does mean that Aimless will be selecting what side, but I think they're going to want to wait until we figure out even what game mode we're going to be playing here.
It looks like the Aegis team has actually asked, or no, sorry, Aimless Esports has asked for a 5-minute strat break, and I think we might be taking such a break. Let's find out real quickly.
Yeah, overall, I think that we did see some solid ult conservation play. I think that was something that both these teams were trying to focus and prioritize, and it really does make me feel good to see at least the beginning of a mentality for that for these teams.
Yeah, again, you know, the Overwatch Watchers Brawl is a good-natured tournament and whatnot, but we are loving to see that teams continue to develop their strategies and continue to basically develop as teams. So we are going to be commentating the entire 5 minutes as we go on and on about how awesome it is to see these teams come out. So let's analyze a bit the past match. What did we like to see from Aegis now that we've seen them?
I don't remember whether it was Aegis or Aimless, and this is going to go back to what I was just talking about, and it's going to sound like me being a broken record here, but we saw points where typically you see a lot of ults being comboed. I think it was Aimless, now that I think about it. You see the Dragon Ball combos and all this different stuff, but they were kind of taking that preconceived notion and twisting it a little bit. They said, okay, we can win this fight just by using a dragon, so we'll just use the dragon, save the Grab for keeping people off of the point, and really capitalize that to our benefit. And it definitely showed in the numbers here on this game.
Right, and they, again, mounted a really incredible defense on that final push on Hanamura. That was the moment when this Hanamura can be a map that very easily turns into just a flat blanket tie for both teams. But Aimless Esports managing to take it on the first their follow-up push, and then making sure that that defense on that point B was as decisive as possible. With a minute 30 left, they committed that single ult to the final fight, won the team fight, and then had a bank of them left for the final push.
Very true. And one thing worth noting was, I believe it was Aegis did a pretty solid job. I mean, obviously it didn't go as long as they would have liked, but they did. Well, maybe it did, but they stalled out on the first attack by Aimless on that second point for quite a while, enough for it to go into overtime, if I'm not mistaken. And really, if you're going to let the opponent win the round, you ideally want to get it to 0 seconds on the clock, to where they're running a minimal time bank run.
Right. It's a really a lot of rough situations in that particular map. Again, we noted a couple points when Aegis just had either really unfortunate timing or just got caught in a bad position by Aimless eSports. So it actually looks like, however, that Aegis has chosen Numbani as the follow-up map. Aimless eSports, bless their hearts, are going to stay on the blue side, making this a lot easier for both the casting and the production team as we go into the second round.
We might still be taking a little bit of a break. However, as we go into Numbani, that tells me that unlike Shimada, if you prefer, we're going to be seeing maybe a little bit more of a dive-centric composition on that first point at least.
Ugh, love me some dive.
It's true. I'm very curious to see how Elevator Man and Risetal, if they end up if they end up playing those Winstons, how they end up contesting that high ground. Because there have been games we've seen in this tournament where, that first point was decided as soon as the enemies locked up that high ground. They were able to take point and collapse very easily.
Yeah, and I wasn't really honestly, there's not really a lot I can say about the Reinhardt play from either side. It definitely seems that Resettle and their compatriot tank players kind of had the edge, so to speak, in most of the confrontations. Elevator Man seemed to get caught a little bit more out of, not position, but out of shield.
Yeah, it did seem like Aimless was better at focusing the shield down and really putting the onus on Elevator Man to either, get his team somewhere or have his team take advantage of the very temporary space they were given.
Yeah, and that's the other thing you want to remember when you're playing that Reinhardt. The Reinhardt shield is a very valuable resource. If you don't need to be holding down that right click, you probably shouldn't. A lot of Reinhardt shields, once they get shattered, it's also, remember, that's a cooldown for that recharge, which means that you are bereft of your shield for quite some time, and that's the other team's advantage to pretty much treat you as if you do not have a main tank.
Yeah, and a little tip for those of you who do play Reinhardt or are just beginning on Reinhardt, probably a better way to say it. If you have 50 health on your shield, just drop it. Don't let it break, because if you drop it at 50, it can come back at 250, and then you put it up and you have a little bit more blocking power. However, if it breaks, you have to wait until it charges to, I believe, like 800 or 1000, which could really be put in a tight spot if you need it and don't have it.
It's a nasty position to be in for sure.
And it looks like we are all getting ready to hop into Numbani here, the lovely streets.
The technological city of the future, and boy, do I look forward to that future if we ever get to it someday. All right, we've talked in Numbani, we've been talking a lot about the compositions of the past. Now we look only to the future. What kind of nasty dives are we going to see from these teams?
I always hope for it. Whenever I say dive, when I'm talking to somebody about dive, I always mean Winston D.Va dive. But when I say it to myself, I hope it means Winston Hammond or Hammond D.Va. I just love seeing that little guy on the field.
Yes, seeing just some I hate my brain for trying to equate this to goats in some way, shape, or form, but the idea of the D.Va Hammond dive it's a very punchy kind of composition. You have maybe even the Doomfist coming in to back them up a little, but unfortunately, actually, Aimless eSports is going to be bringing out a very interesting composition. They're running 3 tanks with only Edgelord on solid damage, with an Ana and a Zenyatta as your support.
No, what this tells me is that they're not going to be as concerned with the high ground. You do have Biscuit, who may want to try to maintain that high ground on that Ana, as well as Gale. You don't want your Zenyatta in the middle of a brawl, after all. But Asian and Resettle and even kind of Shimada main, they're not really going to get any advantage from holding that high up.
On the other hand, it looks like Aegis is going to be running a very, very nice dive with Genji and, instead of a Tracer, Doomfist as their damage, with, of course, the D.Va Winston and the Lucio Ana as their support.
It's very true. Both the DPS will be able to kind of position themselves a little bit easier than they might be able to otherwise, especially in comparison to a Tracer when the multi-tier verticality is in effect.
So this is the part where the dive gets to isolate their targets and figure out how they want to make their engage. And it looks like Elevator Man either missed his jump or jumped too early, and Edgelord is going to pick them off, ending this fight before it even begins. A dive that loses a member is not a dive at all, especially when that member lost is the main tank.
It is true, and I don't think it was intentional, but Aegis actually made the right play by diving that overpass side where the tanks for Aimless were on the, I'll say, the cliff side. They weren't really be able to apply that defensive pressure to the healer and McCree.
What a furious stagger coming out there. Reflect caught out of position, trying to hide, possibly. McCree was having none of it. Quick little flashbang and a support from Gale, and that's going to be the end of that push. Again, now we're sitting at 2 minutes and 50 seconds while we wait for that Genji to get his butt back in gear.
It is very true. The gear was not a pun on cyborgs. Just remember, we are a cyborg-friendly organization here.
It's very true. Unfortunately, Resettle is not a Doomfist-friendly Reinhardt, ripping apart Vex's Doomfist before he even gets a chance to jump in. Again, a dive missing a member is hard to push at all, and it looks like this is going to be another pokey kind of push.
Is true. Gale playing a little bit close for that Zenyatta, especially considering they have that jump Winston in effect. However, it looks like it'll pay off for them as it's going to be another reset.
Of all the characters, all the heroes that are diveable. Wow! Holy moly, Aegis doing a ridiculous turnaround. Gonna jump on Biscuit before the casters could even say what the hell just happened. And now that's gonna be a D.Va Bomb tossing the point as ults are coming out, possibly in panic, but definitely to good use from Aimless eSports, clearing out the members of Aegis before they can get so much as a tick.
That is true. They were very aggressive. They definitely wanted to learn from Hanamura and get kind of pushy with it in comparison to what we saw. There are a little bit anemic tendencies on the attack there the first time around.
Unfortunately, that's going to result in a very nasty ult economy for them. Looking into, they're going into a Nano, a Trance, and the Shatter, possibly with a Grav mid-fight. But Aegis definitely has a few, aces up their sleeve as well. Blade without Nano is still a Blade.
Very true. And one thing worth noting is that this is modern Doomfist. This isn't the previous Doomfist that could combo people into oblivion.
Oh, jeez. Speaking of which, though, Reinhardt's Shatter hasn't been touched in a while, given the last few patches, and he just used that to incredible efficacy, knocking down the supports in the backline, which means the front line gets no healing, which means the front line dies.
It's quite true here. And now it looks like everybody's going to be kind of dislodged from that overpass high ground, and now we will see them trying to set up on that cliffside high ground. Kind of peculiar. It could be a high ground versus high ground situation with the exception of Edgelord.
Yeah, that's a lot of ults coming in for Aimless eSports. Still both defensive, both support ults. That's a nasty combination. Doomfist probably going to start getting super aggressive here as he has his escape queue ready. And they are going to take out Edgelord. This might be a point-taking push, as without the McCree, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Nano Booth comes out. That Pill is going to get Vex before he can escape. And here comes a Nano Blade. But that's also, I don't know how that kill came in so late, but Elevator Man is also going to fall. No main tank at all, and no DPS from Vex as they struggle to maintain point presence, and that means this fight is committed.
And we see the ult come out from Pilot. It's not going to find anything as they get clobbered during the remake. It's just a tough spot for Aegis right now.
Yeah, Vex is unfortunately going to pop his, Meteor Strike, but given the timing of everything, Aegis had no point presence, which means they don't get overtime, which means Aegis gets only 1 tick's worth of defense.
Now, the win condition for Aimless is pretty obvious here. Win convincingly, 1 team fight. If they're able to do that, then they have the entire game set match in the bag for them, because that will be their second win in this best of 3. However, for Aegis, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. They're going to have to win most likely multiple team fights. I'm anticipating at least 3 to 5 team fights, and that could put a lot of pressure on a team, without doubt.
It's definitely in Aimless esports advantage to make fights as quick as possible. Having a team fight, a single team fight that drags out for minutes, possibly, is hugely detrimental to their offense, which again, as you mentioned, they need a single tick. All they need to do is build up to those fight-winning ults, do it, win it, be done with it. And it looks like, given their initial compositions, they are probably setting up to do just that. They have the Zarya, that's one ingredient. They have a Edgelord on the McCree, and they have a Pharah, that's two other potential ingredients. And it looks like Aegis is also setting up to counter it, or rather set up their defense exactly the way they want to.
It is good that Aegis will have that time. However, that Pharah, I anticipate, is going to give a lot of issues to the opposing team, except for maybe the Hanzo if he gets some solid body shot arrows and Smoothie on the Ana. There's not going to be a lot to deter her. Pilot might be able to mitigate some of the damage, but probably cannot apply a lot of that damage back in turn.
I am curious about the healing choices. We have a Mercy and a Moira, picks you don't usually see all that often, but with those picks, that is going to be a lot of nice group healing. Possibly they're planning on sticking together. And here comes the Pharmacy, starting in with those great pokes. And wow! The point presence has already begun. Edgelord already taking apart Lucian on the Zenyatta. That's going to be one major support, but that's going to be McCree also going down. Now this is a 5v5. Anyone's game still, but Pharmacy rules the skies.
It's very true. Biscuit playing this real well, going up with the Pharah. However, once the Pharah drops down or hovers a little bit, staying in the air to give flying healing to the teammates on the ground, and it's really going to show crucial benefit here.
And Aegis pulling out as much stall as they possibly can, as quickly as they can. Elevator Man switching on to that beloved hamster ball. He leaves the point for a millisecond. It's too fast, too little, too late. Aimless esports is going to take the match.
That was a rather strong push by Aimless, and it ended up paying off for them in the entire bracket. It's going to get them the win here. But that Pharah, I think, really applying pressure that Aegis just not able to really cope with.
Yeah, that was really good stuff. It was precisely what the doctor ordered. I don't know if they anticipated that there wouldn't be any hit scan to come up against it, but ultimately that was the case. Pharah dominated the skies, raining down destruction, not really securing any of those final blows, but, you know, rockets are rockets.
Overall there, I feel like we saw less ult impact coming through on Numbani. It did not seem like the teams were as locked in about utilizing their ults. Granted, Aimless really didn't have a chance to use ults offensively. They got one team fight in. But it just seemed a little haphazard in comparison to Numbani, where things look so rigid and strong.
Right, and now the best part of this all, however, is that despite Aegis getting forced out of this particular match, they are going to have another chance. Aegis is going to be sent down to the losers bracket. They are going to be able to redeem themselves, and it'll be awesome. We look forward to seeing them again, and congratulations to Aimless Esports.
Very true. Overall, some solid Overwatch play. I look forward to seeing some more later on in the week.
I am 3pod007. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at 3pod007.
Likewise, I've been Sir Waltham at Sir Waltham on Twitter.
Thank you for joining us tonight, and see you for the next round.
Have a great night, everybody.